26-year-old Lee Sung-soo has successfully climbed Burden of Dreams V17 or 9A located in Lappnor, Finland. With this ascent, Sung-soo becomes just the 5th person to send Burden of Dreams, one of the world's hardest boulder problems. And he managed to send the boulder not once, but 2 times, depending on how you feel about a potential dab. We'll cover everything you need to know in this climbing news episode, including what Lee Sung-soo shared with August Climbing about his ascent. In addition, we'll talk about Will Bosi's V17 first ascent of the Burden of Nightmares project, including what he's decided to name it. And we'll cover Hamish McArthur's single session send of a Colorado V17. That's a lot of V17 bouldering news. My name is August. Welcome to August Climbing. Here's my question of the day for you. How has climbing impacted your life? You can take that as a big, deep question, or just share a simple way that climbing has shaped you. I look forward to reading your comment. Lee Sung-soo has sent the iconic Burden of Dreams boulder problem located in Lappnor, Finland. The first ascent of this boulder came from Nalle-Hukkataival in 2016, and it re-entered the spotlight in a big way when Will Bosi began projecting it, first in replica form and then on the real thing, eventually becoming the first to repeat the climb in 2023. For a bit of background about Lee Sung-soo, we've been seeing quite a bit of high-end bouldering from him recently. In July of 2024, he announced an ascent of a classic highball problem in Rockland, South Africa. It's a V15 boulder called the Finish Line, and like Burden of Dreams, it's also a first ascent from Nalle-Hukkataival. Then in December of 2024, Lee Sung-soo made the 3rd ascent of a Daniel Woods classic, a V16 highball located in the buttermilks known as the Process. And Sung-soo even has some experience projecting a V17. Late last year, a video was published of a brief trip that he took to try Alphane in Ticino, Switzerland. But let's get on to Lee Sung-soo's projecting of Burden. He arrived in Finland in late April of 2025 for his very first trip to the boulder. Sung-soo shared with August Climbing that prior to the trip, he did some training on a replica of Burden, and he had this to say about the replica. "When I was training on it, the middle and end part felt pretty good for me. But I never managed to stick the start move, so I wasn't feeling super confident going into the trip." However, when he first began posting about his trip on April 27th, it became clear that he was making significant progress. He shared, "I'm super stoked about my best link up on Burden. And I turned 26 today on Burden, such an honor." In these 2 videos, we already see Lee Sung-soo linking the boulder from one move in all the way to the top. And at that time, he also appeared to be very close on the first move. Well, on this trip, Sung-soo also managed to send a side project, if you will, a classic V14 or 8B plus boulder known as the Globalist. But let's get on to May 8th when he shared what is probably the closest attempt ever recorded on Burden of Dreams. I mean, you can't get much closer than this, essentially sticking that last move but getting spat off while going for the match. But if anything, this must have given Sung-soo the reassurance that it was indeed possible for him to send Burden of Dreams this trip. And this brings us to May 10th, 2025, when Lee Sung-soo pulled onto Burden of Dreams, and using a drop knee beta similar to Simon Lorenzi, he took it all the way to the top, sticking the final move, and topping out on one of the world's hardest and most iconic boulders. But here's the thing. When Sung-soo watched back the footage of his send, he found a bit of a t-shirt dab while launching into the first move. Here's what he had to say about this on Instagram. "This was supposed to be my send go. Watching the footage the next day, I realized my shirt touched the pad. I didn't feel it at the time or I would not have kept going. I know this is technically a dab, but I swear it didn't change anything. I can't believe this happened, and I know it's not a perfect ascent. What do you guys think?" I'll pose this question to you as well. Would you consider this a valid send? The majority of commenters on Instagram seem to think so, with one prominent commenter, Alex Migos, saying, "Dude, the bouldering police says it's a perfect send. What an effort, so strong, congratulations." But it turns out Answering this question may not matter that much. Since there was a bit of time left on Sung-Soo's trip, he decided to try the boulder again after just one day of rest. On May 12th, he pulled onto the boulder once again and took it all the way to the top, sending Burden of Dreams for a second time. I had the opportunity to ask Lee Sung-Soo what it means to him to send an iconic boulder like Burden of Dreams. He shared, "Honestly, it still feels like a dream. I always hoped that one day I could become a V17 boulderer. And looking back, it feels like that dream came true sooner than I expected. I'm so thankful to everyone who helped me get to this point." As mentioned, this was Lee Sung-Soo's first trip to Burden of Dreams, and his ascents came after 9 and 10 sessions on the boulder, plus around 10 sessions on a replica. This is faster than other ascents of Burden. For example, Will Bosi spent 14 sessions on the boulder, plus an additional 10 sessions if you include replica training. For Simon Lorenzi, it was around 25 sessions at Burden of Dreams, not including replica training. And Elias Ayanyema projected the boulder for around 25 sessions over multiple trips before completing his ascent. Interestingly, this also appears to be the first ever daytime ascent of Burden. Previous ascents have happened at night or at least in the evening with darker conditions. The footage of Sung-Soo's ascents should come in a few weeks, and you're going to want to subscribe to 2 channels to make sure that you don't miss it. The first is Mellow Climbing, which many of you are likely already subscribed to. The second is Henrik Asklöf, a photographer, filmmaker, and climber who has been capturing the sessions and story of Lee Sung-Soo's ascent. Thanks also to Henrik for the incredible photos that you've been seeing throughout this video. Definitely subscribe to his channel, which I will link to in the description, and he already has a video you can enjoy about Ryuichi Murray projecting Burden of Dreams. And hopefully it goes without saying that you should be following Lee Sung-Soo on Instagram too. I'm sure we're going to continue to see great things from him. In terms of what might be next, Sung-Soo shared, "I'm probably heading to Switzerland in the fall to try some alpine boulders again. And if possible, I'd love to check out Red Rock in the winter, if my budget allows, of course." And it would indeed be exciting to see Lee Sung-Soo visit the US and project Return of the Sleepwalker, Shaolin, and other Red Rocks classics. And a huge congrats to Lee Sung-Soo on his ascent of Burden of Dreams. Be sure to drop a comment congratulating him as well. Now let's talk about a boulder formerly known as the Burden of Nightmares project. Will Bosi had been working on this on and off project for several years now. It's located at Raven's Tor in the Peak District in the UK, which is a limestone crag known mostly for its sport climbing. This boulder seems to share similarities to Burden of Dreams in that it's a powerful, overhanging boulder with a minimal amount of moves. In April, Will posted about significant progress he was making on the project, including sticking the crux move for the very first time. At that time, he shared on Instagram, "I've been trying this on and off for a few years now, so this was such a good feeling finally having all the pieces." Will Bosi returned to this boulder following his trip to Switzerland, and let's see what he said on May 20th. Realm of Tor'ment 9A/V17. Overjoyed to send my longest standing boulder project, formerly the Burden of Nightmares project, last week. It's a 8-move power line that all comes down to one desperate dead point from an undercut to a flat edge that feels maybe like a 1-move 8B+. Grade-wise, I can talk more, but it feels very similar to Spots of Time, and it feels harder than any power-based 8C+ I've done. So low-end 9A makes sense, but as always, I'm very excited to see more people on it and get more opinions. And if you think that it sounds funny to talk about a low-end 9A or V17, you're not the only one. Even Adam Andra commented as such. With this ascent, Will Bosi climbs an astonishing 5th V17 or 9A boulder, but it's the first time that he climbed a V17 as a first ascent. The Realm of Tor'ment name is of course a nod to the Raven's Tor crag, and the theme of Nightmare or Torment refers to Will Bosi's experience of projecting the boulder over multiple years and contending with broken handholds and footholds that forced him to then rework his beta. I will keep you posted in future episodes. when the send footage of Realm of Tor'ment becomes available. Before we close out the video, let's talk about 23-year-old Hamish McArthur, specifically his single session send of No One Mourns the Wicked V17 or 9A, located in Thunder Ridge, Colorado. This comes just 2 weeks after McArthur made the second ascent of Megatron, Colorado's other V17. If you want to learn more about his send of Megatron, you can check out the previous episode, which I will link to in the description. But for a little background on No One Mourns the Wicked, in November of 2013, Daniel Woods made the first ascent of Defying Gravity, a now iconic V15 or 8C boulder problem located at Thunder Ridge in Colorado. Over 10 years later, in December of 2024, Olympic medalist and world-class boulderer Nathaniel Coleman managed to add a sit start to Defying Gravity, naming his first ascent No One Mourns the Wicked and proposing a grade of V17 or 9A. And of course, Hamish McArthur would want to take a look at this boulder problem while visiting Colorado. Let's take a look at the timeline he shared and what he had to say about the ascent on Instagram. No One Mourns the Wicked V17. Start hiking, arrive at Boulder, try Defying Gravity, stick crux move, send Defying Gravity, try No One Mourns the Wicked, stick low crux, send No One Mourns the Wicked, start hiking. It is not the time that matters, but what the time attests to. Everything begins to point towards this one idea. You may not take this moment with you. Love to you all. So less than 3 hours after arriving at the boulder, Hamish McArthur made the second ascent of No One Mourns the Wicked. And this is his second V17 boulder, all within the span of 2 weeks. I'm not sure what else to say about this, but I think it's clear that we're going to see even more from Hamish McArthur in 2025. He has given some sessions on Aidan Roberts' Spots of Time V17 at the Lake District in the UK, so I wouldn't be surprised if he continued to project that when the weather is right. I also recommend climbing.com's interview with Hamish McArthur about his send of Megatron. It goes much deeper than saying, Hamish McArthur said to V17, check. It provides some really nice insight into who he is and how he approaches climbing and life. I will link to that in the description. I look forward to hearing from you in the comments. My name is August. Thank you so much for watching.